We live in a very exciting time with NVIDIA and all these different companies that are just creating a better way for us to do business today and hopefully alleviate some of the burden of finding information. Today, we have an exciting panel with us, Tejas Desai and Devin O'Dowd, both from Global X.
My name is Devin O'Dowd, Chicago born and raised, based out here in Los Angeles. I've worked with Global X. We are an ETF issuer. We manage about $40 to $45 billion in assets across 100 ETFs, predominantly focused on sectors like robotics, AI, cloud computing, like fintech. And we're going to dive a little bit into a couple of those topics today. Joined by my colleague Tejas Desai, who is an analyst with us covering the AI ecosystem, formerly covered a number of large tech companies you may be familiar with. The thematic investing is really trying to figure out where the puck is going as opposed to where it is. I played hockey my entire career, and thematic investing is really no different than you might see a lot of hedge funds use and a lot of different types of portfolio managers. So we are really trying to identify these big picture, powerful macro level trends and understand which stocks are trying to really benefit from those themes and really leading the charge. Most people that bought maybe Facebook or some social media company early in their days, they were rewarded for taking what at that point in time was probably a pretty big bet. Fast forward today to 2023, that bet proved to be a really, really big market. And you can kind of see that in this top right corner here. Now there's a new wave of technologies. You hear the acronym, the FANGs, or maybe the Magnificent Seven. I don't know what the acronym for the FANGs in 10 years will be, but it's very likely from our perspective, they're going to come out of a couple of these sectors, whether that's AI or whether that's IoT and cloud computing or battery technology and hydrogen. So the innovators are always leading. Behind the innovators, you have private equity companies and the venture capital companies that are funding them.
We're very clearly entering this golden era of artificial intelligence. If we just look at some of these stats that we have seen very recently come out of this ChatGPT explosion that we've seen in the last 12 months or so, ChatGPT itself managed to scale to 100 million users in barely 2 months since launch. Up until that point, we didn't have any consumer technology or enterprise technology platform get to that scale that rapidly. It took Netflix almost 18 years to get to that particular scale. So, in our minds, there is very little doubt that this rise of AI that we're seeing today represents a paradigm shift very similar to what we had in the early days of the internet or even the mobile and smartphone revolutions. Generative AI is a relatively new and distinct science. In simple terms, Gen AI systems are basically this class of neural networks or AI models that are capable of producing content on their own. So these systems have been trained on massive amounts of information, massive amounts of data. This could be text data, image-based data, video-based data, and they can really understand patterns and context and generate output to prompts that you actually feed the system. So the new class of jobs that Devin was referring to with prompt engineering and really understanding how to communicate with these AI systems.
The digital transformation that we experienced during COVID, people's businesses were shut down completely, but we found a way to do business online. I think that digital transformation took us so fast ahead of where we were at the time. And AI, I think we're seeing the exact same thing right now, is that it's taking us maybe 10 years, maybe 5, whatever it is, in advance of where we thought we were before AI was unleashed and released to everybody.
Oftentimes we do get asked whether this technology is ready for prime time deployment, right? And how far away we are from monetization. And I think I just want to offer this example here at a high level, but the core of the large language model systems that we have today, which is the transformer, is actually a pretty powerful system. And it is already driving the massive amounts of digital internet businesses and digital internet applications. To give you an example, the core model that Google Search runs on today is a transformer-based large language model. In fact, when Google invented the transformer in 2017, they created something called the BERT, which is basically a type of model that was very good at one-line autocomplete. So if you've been using Google Search and you've been searching for something and you end up typing the wrong thing, but Google still ends up picking what you were exactly looking for, the phrase, the words, that's essentially powered by the BERT technology, by a transformer-based model in the back. And all of Google Search's English language queries right now, since 2020, in fact, have been running on BERT. And that's close to a $200 billion market in digital advertising itself, right? So this technology is ready for prime time. And typically, the media tends to focus a lot on OpenAI, but the innovation that is happening within this space is quite broad. I think pretty much any process that is repetitive that can be eliminated using software will eventually be replaced by using these intelligent workflows, right? That means a large number of tasks that are related to customer service related functions, for example, or sales operations related functions, for example, data cleaning, data management, due diligence processes, outreach, if you're working in a sales function, so on and so forth. That only allows us, again, to be more productive and focus on things that we're very good at, or things that could basically deserve more of our intelligence and more of our attention, right? But I think in 5 years, in 6 years, as these models sort of get better over time, we will get to a stage where these models will be very good at handling trade-offs, handling nuance. And at that point, we should be able to have the systems out there in the market that are good at very complex, elaborate tasks.
So you're saying that my wife will not need to go shopping anymore because ChatGPT will tell her what to buy?
Absolutely, right? Absolutely. And ChatGPT won't just tell you what to buy, it will actually place that order for you.
Would you consider ChatGPT number one on that list, or are there others that are almost there? What would be your top three?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, so this is a rapidly evolving field, and, the rankings that I give today may not be valid 3 months down the line. Now, having said that, I think OpenAI is clearly the trailblazer in this arena. They have access to tons of good talent. They have, massive 100 million plus users on ChatGPT, so they can scale and bring more systems out to market very rapidly. I also think Google is very well positioned, just given how dominating they have been with AI talent across the board. Google's Bard is a phenomenal system. It's improving very rapidly as well. Outside of that, I think the open source model field is really where you'll find a lot of exciting companies. Over the next few years, we think data center chips will remain a vibrant opportunity. And that's phase one of this investment cycle, where the capital infrastructure, the foundational infrastructure is actually being built to run, train, and deploy these models. In the second stage, we think that once we have the foundational layer in place, we will see more and more proof of concepts come out to the market. Infrastructure as a services companies will be very well positioned in that second wave of that AI revolution. In the same wave, actually, we also think that data management software companies will also be advantaged, given the increased consumption in data assets.
Participating in a company that doesn't really make revenue yet, right? There's a lot of these startups, there's a lot of these innovations, and it's tough to participate or put money into a company that you're not seeing the return yet. But as you can see, the potential return is just so significant. So are you the type of investor that wants to be in on day one, or are you the type of investor who wants to be once it's matured and it's a company that's already has shown what it's done? And that's a question that you have to ask yourself and really understand. Whenever you put any money to work, you always want to make sure that you're investing it in a way that you understand the downside risk, you feel comfortable with the downside risk, and understand what is your exit plan in case things do not go the right way.